Hello everybody, and welcome to my review of volume number 1 of the Isekai fantasy Yuri title, The Executioner and Her Way of Life. This one written by Mato Sato. It has artwork by nilitsu. It's officially released in English by Yen On, with a translation by Jenny McKeon. If you want to pick up your own copy of this one, I'll have links in the description down below. The Executioner and Her Way of Life is the story of Menou. In her world, it has been devastated by otherworlders, the lost ones. These people that seem to just end up in their world from a place called Japan. These people usually have ludicrous powers that, during the history of this world, there have been several times that they have gone absolutely haywire and entire nations have been ruined. And so, the church has commissioned executioners to eliminate these threats whenever they appear. Menou is one such executioner. One day, she comes across an lost one named Akari. And of course, she fulfills her duty. The first opportunity she has, she kills Akari dead. Only problem is, Akari doesn't die. She seems to revive, completely unharmed. Doesn't even remember what happened. And so Menou decides that her only option is to travel with Akari while she tries to figure out a way to eliminate this threat. Now, a couple things before we start this review. The Executioner and Her Way of Life, I had huge expectations of. First of all, because it was doing something a bit different with the whole Isekai story. That the main character was actually an eliminator of people who came from Japan. That people from Japan were not seen as heroes, but actually major threats. I was also really excited because this is the first book within a 7-year span that won the grand prize at the GA Bunko Awards. The last book that had done it before this one was Is It Wrong to Try to Pick Up Girls in a Dungeon? A series that I really have enjoyed. And it's also, this book just recently been announced that it's getting an anime, so there were a lot of things that made me pretty hyped for this book. The question is, did it deliver? Well, yes and no. This is one of those books that I have to say was a touch frustrating. We'll talk about the negative stuff first because I want to get to the good stuff because believe me, there is lots of it. When it really boils down to it, the only real negative to this book is that there is a motto in writing. It is probably one of the most named rules of fiction writing, which is show, do not tell. In other words, use language, have the characters do things, have them have conversations and such that allow the reader to live in the world and experience the world, as opposed to you telling the reader, this is how this works, and this is why this works, and this is who this is, and this is who this is. This author does a lot of telling. In a lot of places where they could have done a hell of a lot of showing. There were a number of times in this book that I thought to myself, in the hands of a better writer, this would be a book I could recommend without hesitation to anyone, light novel fan or not. But what makes it frustrating, I mean, hey, a badly written book's a badly written book, right? You're kind of like, the book's crap. Why is that frustrating? It's not. But it's frustrating when you have so many other good things. When you have good characters who you are invested in. Menou, her assistant Momo, Akari. These characters have backstories. They are multi-dimensional. They are interesting. And I liked these characters. I wanted to find out what happens to them, especially as the book goes on. There is this incredible world building going on. There's a lot of different things going on, moving parts, different politics, and the way that the church operates in regards to kingdoms, and how some nobles may actually summon people themselves in almost a way just to defy the power of the church. There's all these moving parts going on, and they are so cool. And the author has this twist near the end of the book that honestly is probably something that you will see coming if you're used to these types of titles, but it's so satisfying in the way that it happens, and there's so much build up, like there's so many hints about what it is throughout the book that you don't feel like the author just cheated out and was like, I'm going to throw this twist in because that's what I should do. You actually feel like the author has started the whole book building this idea that this was going to happen because they knew that was going to happen. It's not just like a Deus Ex Machina thing or I'm going to throw in a twist in order to seem cooler than what I am. Like, there's so many legitimate things in here that make me go, this person's a good storyteller, that when you don't have the use of showing and language to back it up, it's frustrating because you're like, man, this is already a good book. In the hands of a really awesome writer, this could be an amazing, blow me out of the water, 6 stars out of 5 type title because there's a lot of good stuff in it. And the other thing is that even that twist that I'm talking about, a lot of the times, you have twists in light novels and they're just groan worthy. You're like, saw it coming from miles away, everybody's done it, and it just, I don't even care anymore. You have that happen. That doesn't happen. In fact, I would say it made me more interested and invested in the characters and what's going to happen to them next and where the story is going. As I said, there's a lot of great stuff. There's a lot of stuff in this book that often light novels lack, right? Light novels, I mean, yes, there's some great ones out there, but there are a lot that you feel as if the author wrote them with a checklist of gotta have this, gotta have this, gotta have this. I really didn't feel that way for The Executioner and Her Way of Life. I felt like the author really truly wanted to do something different, that they wanted to take something like Isekai, which has been incredibly used, like overused, most people would say, and do something different with it. Kind of look at it and go, well, really, if these other worlders, if these people from Japan are so powerful, what's to prevent them from having done horrifying things to a world? What's to prevent the people of that world being scared to death of these other worlders? And as I said, it was so cool to read something that was so familiar because, I mean, my God, with all the light novels I've read a lot of isekai. But to have it work in a different way and to follow a character who is actually of the world itself, as opposed to the person who has been summoned from the other world. There's just a lot of really good stuff. And yes, there is definitely Yuri elements to this book. All the characters, the main characters, are all female. There is definitely these relationship. Menou herself is kind of in the neutral ground. Her assistant Momo is passionately in love with Menou, and you get the feeling that Akari is as well. And that's kind of one of those mysteries that kind of goes throughout the book. Why do these characters have such strong feelings for Menou? And what I also enjoyed was that when you get to the end of the book, the Menou and Momo are both aware of the twist. They both conceive that twist could be a thing. You know what I mean? Like, I'm trying so hard not to spoil this. But do you know, like, when you have main characters and you sit there and you think to yourself, realistically, if you guys have researched all these powers and everything else, why aren't you making this logical leap? Well, they do, which is nice. It's a nice switch because, like I said, it doesn't happen a lot and it's frustrating, and you sit there going, like, how can you be so dense when this is so obviously possible? So I really enjoyed that. And again, as I said, made me think more of the characters, more highly of the characters. All in all, The Executioner and Her Way of Life, I really want to and will recommend the book. Absolutely, because I truly think it is a good story with good characters that I enjoyed and was invested in. But at the same time, I really wish it had been in the hands of a writer who was more experienced and stronger at their craft in order that the audience could experience what's going on as opposed to just being told in a lot of cases. Like, I'll be honest, I mean, I have read how many books with how many different magic systems and everything else. There were things in The Executioner and Her Way of Life that I just didn't quite click with. And I think it was because I wasn't seeing characters do it in a way that made me go, ah, yeah, all right, I see how that works. It was more like because I was just being told, you know how in like a lecture in school or university or whatever, the talking head at the front of the class is just kind of like, I think I kind of did that a couple times. And I mean, I'm not saying the book is boring. I'm just saying that definitely there were moments where I thought to myself, I don't quite get how this works because he's telling me instead of letting me just sort of see the character do it, which would probably make more sense. I'd be really interested to hear the thoughts of any of you who have read this book. Like, did you feel the same way? As I said, I really enjoyed the book, and I really enjoyed what the book was trying to do. I'm really trying hard not to take a dump on the book because it doesn't deserve it. But I just, like I said, it was frustrating because as I was reading it, I thought to myself, man, if this writer just had a little bit, more panache, or, this would be, man, this book would be killer, so killer. As it is, it's really good anyway. So those are my thoughts about The Executioner and Her Way of Life. What's going to be really interesting is to see how this works as an anime. I'm not going to lie to you, there are some grim and gruesome things that happen in this book. This is not some light-hearted Yuri fantasy. I probably should have said that earlier. Hopefully enough people have watched till this point in the review where they'll actually hear that part. But I think you kind of get the gist that this isn't exactly happy funland when the main character is an assassin, and legitimately an assassin, not just lip service assassin like some other light novels. But we don't talk about that. In any case, definitely this is one that I think will be interesting to see as an anime. I kind of wonder if it might work even better as an anime. It'll really depend on the direction that they have, what kind of budget they have, how much time they dedicate to it. Like, if they rush through particularly this first book, man, it's really going to hurt it because there's so much going on in this first book that, I could actually see this first novel alone being a single core if it was done right. So I'm really interested to see how the anime for this one turns out. I'm looking forward to checking that out. In this video, I want to say a special thanks to Sean Zipperer, Drone205, FixLab.com, Michaela Werner, and Mithrune for their support on Patreon, as well as the support of all of my patrons who help not only to keep the channel running and hopefully keep these videos getting a little bit better as we go, but also supporting my other projects such as EnglishLightNovels.com and the Light Novel Podcast. Now, for my next review, I'll be honest, I'm not a huge fan of harems, and I know that this series is probably known specifically for being a huge harem series, but after so long of listening to people crying for this to be released officially in English, I had no choice but to check it out. It's going to be volume number 1 of Date Alive. That'll be my next review. In the meantime, thank you so much for joining me in this video. I look forward to seeing you in the next one. Till then, bye-bye for now.